स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Namaskar to all of you. Welcome to the study of the life of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. We were busy in the study of life of Ramakrishna Anandaji Maharaj. Now let us continue this wonderful study of the life of Ramakrishna Anandaji Maharaj from where we had left yesterday. Ramakrishna Anandaji was called Shashi Bhushana Chakravarti. He's telling his reminiscences about Sri Ramakrishna. There was one boy, told Shashi, who often came to Dakshineshwar to see the master. One day, the master took him into the temple and, touching his heart, gave him a vision of the divine. Afterwards, he explained that that boy would not be able to realize God in this life. But Sri Ramakrishna told he wished to show this boy what he would attain in his next birth, so that he might be encouraged to struggle for it. So now you can see how every step of Sri Ramakrishna, every act of Sri Ramakrishna is for the emancipation of all the souls. He would encourage everybody from where they were. He would be always inspiring them to realize God. His only aim of coming to this world was to show us the goal of our life, that is God realization. So now, even though this boy was not ready for God realization in this life, but by touching his heart, Ramakrishna gave him the vision of the divine. Afterwards, he is explaining that the boy would not be able to realize God in this life, but he wished to show him what he would attain in his next birth, so that he might be encouraged to struggle for it. So now you can understand the teaching of Sri Ramakrishna, where he tells, if you keep one step towards God, God will keep 10 steps towards you. Rather, I have experienced in my life, or many people are experiencing in their life, God will keep 100 steps, not 10, 100, or even 1,000 steps. Shashi Maharaj is telling, I remember that once Ramakrishna took the karma, the fruits of action, the bad fruits of action, it's called sin. Ramakrishna took the karma of a certain devotee on himself and suffered from a serious bodily disorder for 6 months. So that's what you can see. You think it's very easy to become an avatar Purusha or a guru or a saint. Come, there will be so many namaskaras, so much of respect, and people will come and give you presents. So every time you will be respected. So you think it's very easy. One person came to a ashram and he wanted to join as a member of the ashram. So he went around, he wanted to see what are the activities in that ashram. There was the temple, inside the temple puja was going on. So some of the inmates were working in the temple. cleaning the temple, cleaning the shrine, doing the puja, plucking the flowers. Then some inmates were sweeping and mopping the temple. Some other inmates were working on the premises outside the temple, sweeping, cleaning, cutting the grass. Some inmates were working in the garden. Some were working in the goshala where the cows were there yielding milks. So taking away, cleaning the goshala, the cow dung, cleaning the cows. Some were busy in getting the milk from the cow and giving it to the kitchen. Somewhere in the garden, somewhere tilling the land to plow and grow the crops. Then he came to the Guru, was sitting there. Thousands of people had gathered. The Guru was blessing everybody. A lot of gifts were being collected. He was giving advice or lectures. So after all, looking at it, he came to the manager of the ashram, and when he asked him, "Now you want to join the ashram as an inmate or a monastic member? So what work can you do? What is your qualification? What work do you want to do?" So that person told. There was one person, old person, sitting there with long beard and long hair, and he was giving advice, giving lectures. I will do that job. Thinking that becoming a guru or a saint is very, very easy. To become that, he has done all these jobs, menial jobs, then come up to that position. How much of sadhana? Holy Mother Sharda Devi tells when she went to Kashi, Varanasi, she saw there Lord Shiva sitting in the temple where we go and worship Vishwanatha, Kashi Vishwanatha. And when the devotees would go pour water on his head and touch that Shivalinga, he would take or absorb all the sins of the people who would come and touch him. So Shiva is sitting there to take away all the sins and bless all the people. He was the one who took the poison when there was the churning of the ocean, when all the others were busy taking Kaustubhamani, Airavata, Vajashravas, and Samala, so many other Kalpavriksha, Kamadhenu. But it was when it came to poison, all ran away. It was Shiva who took it. So that's why even now we pour water on the head of Shiva or the Shivalinga, because that burning sensation of the poison was so huge, so much. As our thanksgiving or grateful thing to reduce that burning sensation of Shiva, we are even now pouring water on the head of Shiva. That's our gratitude to Lord Shiva. He is also sitting there in Varanasi or Kashi or wherever. When you touch and worship the Shiva Linga, then he absorbs all our sins. That's what the vision of Holy Mother. Then Pundalika, another great saint who brought Vithala or Krishna to Mandarpur when he was in his bad ways, and he left everything and went to northern part of India, roaming here and there. He went to some of the Rishi ashramas. There he saw every day three women, very well decorated, so much of ornaments. They were looking beautiful, but externally they looked as if they were covered by soot. There was wounds. There were so many bruises. They were looking ugly because of that. Though from within they looked beautiful and had lot of ornaments. So they came. They were working in the Rishi ashrama, cleaning, sweeping, mopping, cleaning the whole of the ashrama. And when the morning, the whole night they were doing that work, Kundalika was watching it. When they were going back, they, Kundalika saw that all the three ladies were like now devatas, shining, no wounds, no bruises, no diseases, clean, beautiful, shining like goddesses. Then he approached them and asked who they were. Then they introduced themselves to him, telling, "I'm Ganga, I'm Yamuna, I'm Saraswati." So many people come, thousands of people every day. They take bath and we take all their sins and we get all this ugliness. And how do we remove it? We come in the night time to the Rishi ashramas, we clean them, the ashram, we do all the work, karma yoga, and we are cleansed of all that sins. Again, now we are ready to go back and receive the sins of the people. So all the people, all the saints, so they are ready to, why are they receiving the sins? So that all of us, we can be bereft of that weight of the sin, so that we can move forward in spiritual life, not to enjoy the material welfare, but to realize the Lord and get eternal peace and happiness. So now you can see Ramakrishna is also doing the same. The moment anybody would go and stand in front of Sri Ramakrishna, he would absorb their sins if they serve them everything, every way, and make them light so that they can go forward in spiritual life. That is the karuna, that is the kindness, the compassion of the Lord. That's why in that Dhyana Stotra of Sri Ramakrishna, it is told, Vitaritum avatiranam gnana bhakti prashanti pranaya galita chittam jiva dukkha asahishnu. He cannot bear the suffering of the living beings. So he has taken a human being, all the limitation of the human being, come down to their level, take all their difficulties, feel all their difficulties, and he's trying to lift them up. Every second he's talking about God. One place, Swami Vivekananda tells, when he had got cancer, he was bleeding in the throat. He couldn't eat food. He couldn't sleep. But hours together, he would talk about God and God alone. Why? So that people will be benefited. That was Sri Ramakrishna, the avatar of compassion. So here, Shashi Maharaj is telling, I remember that once he took the karma of a certain devotee on himself and suffered from a serious bodily disorder for 6 months. I have heard from one Swami Dharmatmananda Ji Maharaj in Bangalore Ramakrishna Ashrama, when Revered Harshananda Ji Maharaj was the president. He would not only conduct spiritual retreats, satsangas for the devotees, but once in a while, maybe once in 2 months or once in 3 months or once in 6 months, he used to conduct spiritual retreat only for sadhus and brahmacharis. So sadhus and brahmacharis from different centers nearby from Bangalore, that is Mysore, Mangalore, Belgaum, Alsur, all the others from Tamil Nadu, from Andhra Pradesh, which were nearby, used to invite sadhus, senior sadhus, middle-aged sadhus, every sadhus will come. And that day, from morning, we all used to get up early in the morning as usual. After ablutions, come to the shrine, meditate, bhajans, suprabhata. Then after that, they'll be working in the shrine, then karma yoga, then there will be talks, exchange of talks, ideas, then there will be havan, then there will be puja, singing, bhajans, all those things. Then afterwards, prasad. Then they used to go back after the retreat. So there would be retreat for the sadhus. Once in that retreat, when Harshanandaji Maharaj was conducting this spiritual retreat only for sadhus, one of the sadhus, Swami Dharmatmanandaji Maharaj, is now living somewhere in Kanchipuram or in Tamil Nadu, in that area. So he told his personal life experience to all the sadhus who had assembled there. He is now maybe nearing 65 or 70. He is in the age group of maybe nearing 70. So he's a retired sadhu now, living somewhere in Tamil Nadu. He's also helping some of the ashramas. He will be staying there, moving about in different ashramas, speaking about God, going and helping the people there, whatever that might be. So Swami Dharmatmanandaji Maharaj told this incident when he was a brahmachari living in the training center in Belur Math. He developed intense, severe back pain. So it continued for days, weeks, and months. Almost he suffered it for 6 months, and it went on becoming intense. It became so intense that while walking, he was a young brahmachari, strong brahmachari at that time. Because of the intense back pain, he had to bend while walking. That was the impact of that back pain. So every day, in Belur Math, when the normal days when we were also there in the training center during 92 to 94. So during that time, Revered Bhuteshanandaji Maharaj was the president, and we used to all go there in the evening, do pranams to the Maharaj there. Then we used to ask questions. Maharaj used to answer. We used to stay there in his company for half an hour or so. Then we used to come back, go back to the evening prayer or whatever, the next routine. So likewise, when Dharmatmanandaji Maharaj was the brahmacharin, so he came to do his Gurudev, and the then president was Revered Swami Vireshwaranandaji Maharaj, who was the disciple of Holy Mother, direct disciple of Holy Mother Sharda Devi. So he used to be sitting there and receiving the namaskars of all the brahmacharis and sadhus. So they were coming. So now, when he was approaching that old president's quarters, which is called Girish Chandra Bhavan. So while approaching that, we have to pass through the Vivekananda, the Holy Mother's temple, then Vivekananda's temple. On the left side, there is the Ganga flowing. The right side, one building is there. Then as we enter that old President Maharaj's quarters. Behind that, now they have built a new big President Maharaj quarters where most revered Smarananandaji Maharaj stays, and his pranams will be held there. Now, in this President Maharaj quarters, there is a little away, there is the board, Girish Chandra Memorial. When this Swami was coming to do pranams with that backache, intense backache, bent because of the back pain, while coming, he saw that board, Girish Chandra Ghosh name. And he suddenly remembered Girish Chandra Ghosh gave up all his sins to Ramakrishna and he became free. So now I too am suffering so much, I cannot withstand this suffering. Why can't I give away my sins to my Gurudeva and get relief from this suffering back pain? This thought came to him. So while all were going and doing pranam, because of the sadhus and brahmacharis, there will be no rush. They will be going in queue one by one. When he came there and touched the feet, mentally he offered his sins, that back pain, to his Gurudev. When he did pranam and touched the feet, then there was a shake in the body of the Guru. He withstood, there was a shudder and pain. Then afterwards he did pranam and he came out. And there was another senior Swamiji, as I told you, who became the president of the order when we were there, most revered Bhuteshanandaji Maharaj, who is my Brahmacharya and Sannyasa Guru. My Mantra Guru was revered, most revered Tapasyanandaji Maharaj. My Brahmacharya and Sannyasa Guru is revered Bhuteshanandaji Maharaj. So he was young, he was maybe assistant secretary at that time, standing there, but a great sadhak, a great saint, standing behind. The moment he saw, he came back, he went to that Brahmachari, Dharmatmanandaji. He is narrating this to us, all of us there in the spiritual retreat. He came and he told, what have you done? Why did you give your sins to your Guru? You are young, you could withstand it. He's so old now. He's nearing 85 or 90. In this old age, how can he withstand this pain? See, when he gave that sin and that process was happening, when the Guru received that sin, this another great soul could understand that. And he came and mentioned, what have you done? Why did you do this? You were young, you could withstand that. And afterwards, gradually his pain came down, and intense pain in the back was developed by the Gurudev, that is revered Vireshwaranandaji Maharaj. After that, he couldn't walk. They had to carry him on the wheelchair. There was no wheelchair at that time. They used to make them sit on one chair, and the attendants used to carry him. Whatever, now he couldn't walk. The pain increased. So now he felt hurt, because after Bhuteshanji Maharaj told, what have you done? He's so old and he developed intense back pain and he felt hurt. He had that sense of guilt. Went back to his room training center, and while coming back again the next day, he thought, now I am relieved of the back pain. But my Gurudev has accepted my back pain on him, my karma. He is suffering. Now he saw that intense suffering of that old Guruji. So he felt very upset. What have I done? So today, the next day, he thought, I will go and take back my karma of back pain. So when he was about to bow down and take away, then Vireshwaranandaji stopped him, told, no, don't do that. I will have it. But you could have given better thing to your Guru. That's all. He didn't tell, no, don't take away. I will suffer it. You be relieved. You be happy. But you had better things to give to the Guru. That's all he told. And he withstood that pain for 3 days and it went away. 3 days intense back pain was there. This was told by Swami Dharmatmanandaji himself, who in whose life this incidents occurred, and is still living in one of the centers in Tamil Nadu. If you want, you can go and inquire him. So like that, the gurus, the saints, the great people. And now, if that is the case of the gurus and the saints, then what about the Yuga Avatar Sri Ramakrishna? How much of compassion, how much of karma he absorbed from everybody, anybody who went to him. And now you can see Shashi Maharaj is telling, I remember that once he took the karma of a certain devotee on himself and suffered from a serious bodily disorder for 6 months. In spite of that, they would be there to accept everybody's sins, which we cannot understand. What is the greatness of these great souls? Now, continuing his reminiscences about Sri Ramakrishna, Shashi Maharaj is telling about Ramakrishna. God may come at any time. Ramakrishna would say, now Shashi Maharaj or Ramakrishna Anandaji in his reminiscences is telling that Master or Ramakrishna would say, God may come at any time. Ramakrishna would say, but this need not frighten us. God may visit you anytime in the form of a beggar, in the form of a guest, in the form of a small child, or any way he can visit you. So be ready. God may come to you anytime. He would say, Ramakrishna would say, but this need not frighten us. You know, when the king or the prime minister or the minister comes to your place, when the king wishes to visit one of his servants, he knows the servant will not have soft cushions and all the arrangements to be made there. They should not create trouble to that servant. There will be no soft cushions and the proper things with which to receive him. So the day before the king comes to the house of the servants, he sends other servants to cleanse everything and prepare for his reception. Similarly, Ramakrishna used to tell God, before he comes to our heart, he sends servants to make it ready for his coming. And who are those servants? The servants who are coming before God visits us are purity, chastity, humility, loving kindness. Or again, as in the east, the red glow in the sky, wonderful sunrise. You'll see the red glow, crimson color, beautiful variations of color. As in the east, the red glow in the sky tells us that the sun is about to rise. So just by looking at a man, one can tell whether God will come soon to him. And a person is getting these wonderful qualities: purity, chastity, humility, loving kindness. Then it is time God is coming to visit him. God will come to him, to his heart. So now there is a thing called reverse engineering. You know, The Chinese and other people are very famous for that. They will take any technology, any material, and with this reverse technology or reverse engineering, they will, whatever might be the complicated process of it, they will manufacture that goods in the similar way. They will find it out. Now, if purity, chastity, humility, loving kindness, all these things will come to a person whom God will visit in the same process of reverse engineering. If you start attaining purity, chastity, humility, loving kindness, then automatically the reverse process God will come to you. Why don't you attain all these things? In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna has given so many lakshana of the yogi, the symptoms or the nature of a yogi who are a bhakta devotee or a gnani. He gives all the details of how the devotee whom he loves. I love such a devotee. I love such a person. The yogi Krishna himself tells, the Lord himself will love. He tells all the wonderful qualities. So when you read all those qualities, then what are you supposed to do? If you want the Lord to love you or come to you, then you have to get all those qualities in you. Then automatically the Lord will come to you. So why delay? Start getting all these things: purity, chastity, humility, loving kindness. If you are egoistic, if you are very harsh to people, if you ill treat people, then the Lord will stay away from you. Get all these qualities: humility, no egotism. Reduce your ego. Be soft, be calm, be kind, serve the people. Don't hurt people with your harsh words. So then, these are all the qualities: purity, chastity, humility, loving kindness. Then the Lord is coming to you immediately. So Ramakrishna is telling, or again, as in the east, the red glow in the sky tells us that the sun is about to rise. So just by looking at a man, one can tell whether God will come soon to him. These are the qualities. So let us not delay. Start getting all these beautiful and wonderful qualities. Sri Ramakrishna trained his disciples to be great teachers of the world. Ramakrishna trained his disciples, not only he. So here, as I told you, great teachers of the world means it is a responsibility not to give some position, degree or master degree or doctorate or PhD, but to become world teachers. Jagat Guru means to be again like the Guru, like Ramakrishna, having all those qualities, taking away the sufferings and sins of all those people and helping those people go forward in spiritual life. That is the responsibility. Your teachers means not giving some position there, making disciples. No, it is a responsibility. I read recently, in America, it is a country of liberty. And there is on one side, one coast, there is the Statue of Liberty, Statue of Freedom. But now, too much of freedom, people are misusing the freedom. They are very much aware of their rights and freedom, but they are forgetting their responsibilities and duties. So they are thinking of making a very big statue on the other coast. And what is that statue? Statue of duty, statue of responsibility. It is not only enough statue of liberty or rights. We are all aware of our rights and freedom, but we should be also more aware of our responsibilities and duties. So Ramakrishna is to train his disciples to be great teachers of the world, Jagat Guru, universal personality, not only limited to India, not only limited to particular religion or caste or group or state, to become world teachers, teachers of the world. That was what Ramakrishna was training his disciples. Now, what would be the first thing Sri Ramakrishna would ask his disciples? Shishimarji is telling Ramakrishna would first ask them to realize God. The first thing, to realize God. And then once they had his command, the Lord's command, to teach people. Otherwise, the teaching of those teachers would not be effective. You see, you go to the modern day gurus, they will charge you in dollars or in rands and then give you so many things. Yes, for the time being, you may be influenced there, that's all, there ends the matter. But their teachings will not be effective in the long run, it will not change their character. How will be this teaching? How will it not be effective? I'll tell you a joke, I'll tell you a humor. Ramakrishna has to tell first his disciple first to realize God, and then once they have the command of the Lord, then to teach people. Otherwise, the teachings would not be effective. So there was one Chin Swami, was a drunkard, and now the pastor called him, I will convert you, come, I'll make you free from alcohol. You are alcoholic, I will convert you to Christianity, come, I will baptize you. So he called him. So he dipped him in the sacred waters. Baptization was over. Then afterwards he told him, Chinswami, from today onwards you are not Chinswami. You are James. So you are converted to Christianity. You are no more the old person. So you are not a drunkard now. You cannot drink alcohol. You cannot touch the alcohol. Yes, yes, Pastor. So he went back home. You know, he was a severe alcoholic. So that intoxication, that addiction, will it go away so easily? So when it was late night, when he was alone, that urge for taking alcohol became too much. He went to the refrigerator, opened the refrigerator. There were so many bottles of alcohol. Now what shall I do? The pastor has told me, has converted me and told that you cannot drink alcohol. And he has told that you are now James, not Chinsami. So that old Chinsami came out. Now James bought all those alcohol, put it into a bucket, poured the sacred water into it, and baptized it and told that from today onwards you are not alcohol, you are fruit juice. And then opened all that and started drinking it. So if you give teachings to people without first changing your life, without first realizing God, so it will be something like this. So Ramakrishna is telling, he trained his disciple, he asked their disciples first to realize God, and then once they had his command, the Lord's command, then to teach people. Otherwise, the teaching will not be effective. Shashi narrated how Sri Ramakrishna questioned a great scholar, a Pandit in Dakshineshwar. What happened? He went to that Pandit who was teaching, giving knowledge to people. Have you a commission from the Lord? Asked Sri Ramakrishna to that Pandit. Has he commanded you to teach? When the Pandit, when the scholar admitted that he had not, Sri Ramakrishna said, then all your lectures are worthless. People will hear you for a time, but it will not last. What he said proved to be true. Soon the Pandit lost all his popularity. Everyone began to criticize him, and he had to give up lecturing. Then one day he came to Dakshineshwar and prostrated before Sri Ramakrishna, saying, all this while we had been chewing the chaff, and you have been eating the kernel. We went and studied and got so much of scholarship, knowledge, bookish knowledge, but you not even opening a book. You have got the kernel, the essence. We have got only the chaff, the husk of the paddy. You have got the inner substance of the paddy, the rice. So that Pandit, when he lost all his popularity and he was being criticized, One day he came to Ramakrishna, prostrated before him, saying, all this while we, the scholars, have been chewing the chaff, and you, without even reading some books or bookish knowledge, you've been eating the kernel, the essence. We have been content with dry books while you have been enjoying your life, realizing the essence of God. Now, Shishya Maharaj is continuing his reminiscences about Sri Ramakrishna. A person who sees faults in others, he does not realize that those faults are already within him. Could you catch this? Holy Mother tells a lot about this. If you are trying to find fault with somebody, if you are seeing some fault in others, then what is happening in your mind? First, you have to bring down your mind to the level of that person. And if you are speaking about the fault of other people, you are committing that sin, that fault in your mind first, and then only you can see the fault of those people. So that's why Mother Sharda Devi used to tell, please do not find fault with others. Because while you see the fault of others, you have to bring down your mind to that level. Sorry for that sake. You have to bring down your mind to that level and commit that fault in your mind, then only you can see that fault. And you are earning each time you tell the fault of others, the sins of others, then you are sharing the sins of those people. So be careful while criticizing others, while speaking ill of others, while speaking about the sins or faults of others, you are committing the sin again and sharing the sin of those people. Whoever have committed that, now they have committed it once and they keep quiet. But you are telling that again and again to others, and each time you tell, you are sharing that sins for yourself. So please be careful. That's why here Ramakrishna is telling, a person who sees fault in others does not realize that those faults are already within you. Without that fault being in you, you can't see that in others. So before criticizing others, telling the fault of others, be careful. Not only that, that fault is already within you, but each time you tell the fault of others, you are sharing their sins. Any example? Ramana Maharshi, the great saint of Tiruvannamalai, he tells that there lived a saint. So that saint, he lived in Tamil Nadu. He had a widowed sister. So he was living with the saint because he was the brother. They were living together, serving each other. In the next neighboring house, one person was repeating the name of the Lord. When the saint heard that name of the Lord, who is chanting that? Then this widow, the sister told, oh, that Brahmana who has illicit relationship with his own daughter, that Brahmana is telling, he is taking the name of the Lord. She criticized. Then that saint told Shantam Papam Rama 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 Rama. You are the 100th person to share the sin of that person, and he has completely bereft of the sins now. You have eaten. You are the 100% to eat the sin. And the sister got terrified. She told, why, what happened? I didn't commit that sin. Wait. That Brahmana whom you criticized just now, he is a very good person. Had a very good habit of feeding saints every day. He would never eat without, after the puja, after offering the food to the Lord, had a habit that he would first give the food to the saint, some saint, and then only he used to eat. So he used to go in search of some saints. Wherever he would find some saints, he would bring them and feed them. After that, he used to take food. So that was the greatness he used to do. Every day he used to feed the saints. So one day what happened? A great saint, a realized soul had come. So without his knowledge, he didn't know that he was a realized soul, a great soul. He bought him and he fed him. After that, he fell at his feet and told, "O great soul, what is in store for me? What will happen to me after my death?" Then that great soul, the realized soul, thought for a while, went to a higher state and told, "There are hundreds of leeches, blood-sucking leeches. There are hundreds of leeches waiting in that loka to suck your bloods." I got terrified. What is this? All my life I have never committed any sins. I'm doing only good things. I'm only serving the saints, and why did I get this sin? Deliberately or consciously, I have not committed any sins. What have I done? Then the saints replied, "That is why I have come to, because of your punya, serving the saints, I have come to your house to relieve you of this sin." Then he asked, "What happened, O great soul? Please tell me." One day, when you were bringing the saints everywhere and feeding them, because it was of those days, olden days, not of the modern days. Ramana Maharshi is telling the story of Pakannar, the saint, and that Pakannar's neighbor. That's olden days in Tamil Nadu. So when that saint was bought, he was bringing saints every day. Like this great soul who has realized God, a Brahmagnani or a great soul, you bought another great soul, a realized soul, to your house that day. And while you were cooking the food, he used to cook himself and feed the saints. Olden days house, the thatched roof. So there was a leech going there, that worm, blood-sucking leech. And it fell into the food, and that Gnani, that realized soul, was in a higher state. He ate that food. So you fed him that leech. He ate the leech. Whatever you give a saint, whatever you give a realized soul, whatever you give a avatara, whatever you give God, you offer to God, it will come back to you, good or bad, 1,000 times, 1,000 folds. So now, that's why thousands of leeches are waiting there in that loka, that world, to suck your blood because of this. Even though you have committed unknowingly, if you commit the wrong deeds, even unknowingly, to the great souls, realized souls, and the saints, it will come back to you in 1,000 folds. So you have to be very, very careful. So now what shall I do? It was not intentional. That's why I have come to your house to give you a solution for that. I was very happy. What shall I do? Now, if 100 people talk ill of you, criticize you, then they will all devour or eat away your sins. They will eat, swallow without masala your sins. Then what should I do? How can I don't know how to do sinful acts? How will I make people criticize me? Then he told, this saint had a widowed daughter in the house. You behave externally in the presence of the people as if you have illicit relationship with your daughter, widowed daughter. You behave externally, that's all. Just show. Then he did it. Now people started, people will be waiting for some such thing. There's a penchant, that's a Vishaya Sukha. There's joy in criticizing others, finding fault. People, you see when a few group of people join together, what do they do? Paraninda, Paracharcha. Talking about others, ill of others, talking about others. Oh, that fellow ran away with that fellow. That fellow in this house, this did commit. So this is the only thing you'll be talking, Paraninda, Paracharcha, about others only. This is our nature, finding fault and criticizing. Very that we have that intense thing to do that. Nobody needn't teach you. Nobody needn't put a ladder to the monkey to climb the tree. Nobody needn't train the monkey to climb the tree. So it is natural in you to criticize and to speak ill of others. So now people will look at you when you behave like that, then they will start criticizing. When 100 people criticize you, then they will be eating away all the sins of this. Then you will be free from the sins. Then the saint went away. He behaved. Then now they all started criticizing. Now this Pakanar, the saint, told his sister, the widowed sister in the house, you are the 100th person to eat away the sins of that Brahmana. Because you criticize unnecessarily. Whatever, if you criticize, if you talk ill of the sins or some mistakes who has done, who somebody has done, that means you are sharing their sins. That is the way by which the Lord has made the arrangement. Otherwise, the sinners would be sinners. So when you criticize, when the newspaper, the TV people, the newspaper people, the journalists, and why you are better, BBCs, British Broadcasting Corporations, we are all better than that. Criticizing and talking, we are so eager to find fault and see. So each time, anybody's fault, anybody you criticize, behind the back you talk about them, you're sharing their sins. Automatically, nobody can stop it. So be careful. You're eating the sins without adding any masala at all, without any braising or without any tadka, you'll be eating everything. So be careful when you criticize others, you talk ill of others. So you're sharing their sins. Nobody can stop it. So now that's why Ramakrishna is telling a person who sees fault, who finds faults, speak ill of others. A person who sees fault in others does not realize, Ramakrishna is telling, that those faults are within that person already. What is inside comes out. Fault finding is very injurious to spiritual life. Could you catch it? What Ramakrishna is telling? We don't know at all. We will be doing that because we find joy. It is sukha, enjoyment, criticizing others, speaking ill of others. The moment you open your mouth, speaking of others, we only point fingers others. That fellow is doing. But we don't know that we are also doing it. By the time we understand, it will be too late. We will have already accumulated a lot of sins of others. So please be careful. Holy Mother, that's why the last message of Holy Mother was, my dear child, if you want peace of mind, please don't find fault with others, defects in others. If you want to find fault, you have so many faults, defects in you, please find that and remove that. Now Ramakrishna is telling this fault finding tendency or speaking ill of others, speaking about their wrong deeds or their wrong defects, either physically bullying somebody, is injurious to spiritual life. See, on the cigarette packets or on the alcohol bottles, they will have written printed, taking alcohol or smoking cigarettes is injurious to health. In bold lines, you have to print it. Now Ramakrishna is telling in spiritual life, injurious to spiritual life, was it? What is it? Take it. When you read all these things, the great souls are giving it. Ramakrishna himself is telling, but we will not give up of that quality of speaking ill of others, finding fault. Oh, all the time waiting. What is that person doing? This fellow is doing this, it seems. No, no, I am just stating the facts. That's all. I'm trying to correct him. Okay, very good. The law of karma is also doing nothing, only giving you little sins. Please have it. So Ramakrishna is telling a person who sees fault in others does not realize that those faults are within. What is inside comes outside. Fault finding, not it. Write it in your diary. Teaching of Ramakrishna, the pitfalls in spiritual life. Fault finding is very injurious to spiritual life. Fault finding is very injurious to spiritual life. Fault finding is very injurious to spiritual life. Now Shishi recalled, the master never condemned any man. The master never condemned any man. He was ready to excuse everything. He used to tell that tell us that the difference between man and God was this: if a man failed to serve God 99 times, but the 100th time served the God, Lord with even a little love, God forgot the 99 times he had failed and would say, "Oh, my devotee served me so well today." And what is the difference between the man? What is the nature of man? But if a man served another man with 99 times good things and the 100th time failed in his service, the man would forget the 99 good services and say, "That rascal failed to serve me one day." He'll forget all the 100 good things he has done. But only with that small mistake, he catches hold of that and finds faults in him. That is the nature of man. So, do you want to become man or divine? God. Choose. If you want to stay as man and go to the lower planes, then go on finding fault. But if you want to become divine, forget all those things. No time for all these things. How much of sins will you accumulate? Stop all these things. Become divine. Give up all these fault finding tendencies. But if a man served another man well 99 times and the 100th time failed in his service, the man would forget the 99 good services and say, "That rascal failed to serve me one day." If there was the least spark of Om Namo Narayanaya, Rajendra Rajkumar Ma, Rajini Ma, the dog in your house is barking. Please put off the mic, please. That is disturbing us. Thank you. So Sri Ramakrishna, Shashi Maharaj is telling, if there was the least spark of good in anyone, if there was the least spark of good in anyone, Sri Ramakrishna saw only that and he overlooked all the rest. Now, let us see what Sri Ramakrishna Nandaji or Shashi Maharaj is telling about his reminiscences about Ramakrishna. Love manifests through action. Many times I tell love and devotion are not static, it is always dynamic. It manifests through action. Love manifests through action. Mannerism, manner, and feelings. Love always is dynamic. It manifests through action, manner, and feelings. A real lover always takes the position of a giver. What is the difference between love and attachment? Attachment is always receiving, getting. A real lover always takes the position of a giver, always giving. The lover enjoys giving everything. The lover enjoys giving everything: body, mind, possessions, wealth, everything. So, true love is in giving. Attachment and selfishness is in always getting. A true lover, a true devotee enjoys, he enjoys giving everything: his bodily power, that is service, his mind, the intellectual service, the emotional service, possessions, wealth, physically, giving, giving, giving. God gives and forgives. Man gets and forgets. That is the difference again, another difference between man and God. So, love manifests through action, manner, and feelings. A real lover always takes the position of a giver. The lover enjoys giving everything. his body, his mind, possessions, wealth. So giving the mind means not giving the body, means just giving the body or donating the body parts, kidney, eyes, and other things. Yes, that is also there. It's a small part. It's giving the body means it will give the physical service through the body, whatever he can serve anybody. Giving the mind means with all his mind and heart he will serve people. His intellectual acumen, speciality, he will give that to help others physically, intellectually, in all the ways he will serve others. You have to read between the lines. Then his possessions, whatever he has, which he has stored for himself, he will give it to others. Wealth, everything he will love, he will enjoy in giving it to others. Now, like his cousin, Sharachandra Chakravarti, Shashi Bhushana Chakravarti, Shashi was not well to do. So they were from the middle class family, not very rich. So they were not well to do. He knew that the master was very fond of ice cream. So Ramakrishna, I think there was no ice cream at that time. Ice. Note it down. You think that Ramakrishna was only fond of jalebi. No, there were some more things. So Shashi knew that master, that is Ramakrishna, was very fond of ice. That too, in Bengal and in Calcutta, it will be so hot, sultry and hot all the times. So eating ice or ice cream will be very soothing. It will make them happy. So Ramakrishna, Shashi Maharaj knew that the master was very fond of ice. So Shashi bought a big piece of ice and he carefully wrapped it with paper and then with a towel. Why? So that it would not melt. It's so hot outside. He has to bring from the shop to Dakshineshwar. It's a long distance and there were no cars or refrigerators like this, like the present day. So it will melt away. So now Shashi, he bought a big piece of ice and carefully wrapped it with paper and then with towel so that the ice would not melt. He walked over 6 miles. What is 6 miles? How much can it be converted into kilometers? 1.2 kilometer is 1 mile. So he walked 6 miles, means something like 8 or 9 kilometers. Shashi walked over 6 miles from Calcutta to Dakshineshwar. It was a hot summer day and the scorching sun blistering his body. When the master saw Shashi in this condition, he began to say, ah, 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 as if he was in pain of the blisters of his body. Now Ramakrishna was really in pain. Now Shashi is taking so much of pain to serve his master. Is coming that hot sun. So there is, in that scorching hot sun, he is getting blisters on his body. When he came to master, when the master saw him, Ramakrishna started feeling that pain. He began to say, ah, ah, as if he were in pain. When Shashi asked him, what was the matter? Why are you breathing in pain? The master said that as he looked at Shashi's body, his own body began to burn. The master was overwhelmed by Shashi's sincerity and love. Strange to say, the ice did not melt at all on the way. So if you have that devotion, see, such miracles can happen. 6 miles he has walked in that blistering sun, and his body is all having so much of blisters. But when he had so much of devotion, he bought that ice, it had not melted. Ramakrishna took away all that pain on himself. Last days with Sri Ramakrishna, with the Master. For almost 2 years, Shashi regularly visited Sri Ramakrishna at Dakshineshwar and acquired great spiritual treasures from Ramakrishna. So, Shashi Bhushan Chakravarti regularly visited Master at Dakshineshwar and he had acquired great spiritual treasures from him. In the middle of 1885, Ramakrishna developed throat cancer and the devotees arranged for his treatment in Shampukur, Calcutta. Holy Mother Sharda Devi took the responsibility of cooking special food diet for Master, and some young disciples began to nurse him under Narendra's leadership. Shashi would eat at home, then serve the Master at night. Shashi was then preparing for his BA examination. His parents had great expectation for him because he was very intelligent, he was good at the subjects, and he was their eldest son and were brilliant students. So they had a lot of expectation from him. Now Shashi faced a great dilemma. Should he serve the Guru or build his career through study? His discriminating mind. What is discriminating here? Is it discrimination of the apartheid between the color of the skin? No. Here discrimination is Viveka, between the good and the bad, the real and the unreal, between Atman and the Anatman. That is discriminating faculty called Viveka. So Shashi's discriminating mind selected the first one. He stopped going home, gave up his studies, and he became a full-time attendant of Sri Ramakrishna. An old neighbor of Shashi asked him, "Child, why don't you serve your Guru after the examination? Finish your studies, write the examination, and then afterwards you can do all these things." Present day you can see they will take care of their wife, husband, children, father, mother, and everything about their career. Then if they have little time, then they will give it to God. Career is important. I heard recently a saying, you have given the service of the Lord to all the missions. Even Arati doing mission has come to the Lord. And the drums are not beaten by people. There are missions. You put on the switch, then it will be beating the bell, it will be beating the jagata, the tala, then the instruments, that drums, dhol, or that nagari, all that is beaten by the machinery. Earlier, the people, the devotees used to do that as a service. So you have given all the, happily you have given all the service of the God to missionaries. And now when God gives all the responsibility of you to the missionary, you are upset. When you get the disease, so you are in the machinery, all the machineries, the ventilator, the ICU, the oxygenator, all the machinery started taking care of you, then you get angry with God. But you have forgotten God and you have given all the service of the God to the missionaries. But when God hands over your service, your care to the missionaries, you get upset. Wow, what a wonderful paradox. You want everything from God, but you care only for your career. Whatever you give, you get it. But see here, Shashi, Shibhushana Chakravarti, the sacrifice, the love, he is always in giving, not taking. That is sacrifice. That is true love. The happiness of the others. So Shishi, his discriminating mind, selected the first one, not the career, but to serve the Guru. Stopped going home, gave up his studies, and became a full-time attendant of Sri Ramakrishna. An old neighbor of Shishi asked him, "Child, why don't you serve your Guru after the examination?" And what did Shashi reply? Do you know what Shashi replied to that? Shashi replied, "Sir, could you give me any guarantee that I shall not die before the examination?" Sir, could you give me any guarantee that I shall not die before the examination? So I don't want to miss the chance. I will not get the service of the Guru afterwards. I may die before that. Before I give up the body, let me serve my Guru. Now his father begged him to return home. Shishi replied, "For me, the world and home are both like a place infested with tigers." His father even used black magic, mantra. His father was a tantric, worshipper of the Divine Mother. He knew so many methods. So he used some black magic against Ramakrishna. Can you imagine? When his father begged him to return back home, he replied, "For me, the world and the home are both not important, but the service of the Guru." His father used even a mantra to get his son back home, but even that failed. It would not work. How can the mantra work? The mantra, the power of the mantra is from that divine Lord. And how can you do it against the Lord himself? The power of the mantra will not work. It's of no use. On one occasion, Shashi's father criticized Sri Ramakrishna in front of Shashi. Immediately, Shashi was angry on his father. He was ready to punish his father, saying, "Who is my father?" Ishwar Chandra was pleased. That is, Ishwar Chandra means the father of Shashi. When the father criticized Ramakrishna, Shashi got so angry, he was ready to punish his own father, because you criticize my Lord. So now he asked him, "Who is my father?" Nobody. When it comes to my Guru and Ishtadevata, my father and mother also nobody. Now, seeing his stance, seeing his dedication to the Guru, now it changed the heart of Ishwar Chandra, because he was also a sadhaka, but he was now covered with attachment to his son, but forgotten. Now this opened his eyes. Ishwar Chandra was pleased with his son now. He praised him. Yes, yours is true dedication to the Guru. By this incident, Ishwar Chandra was pleased with his son and said to him, "Yes, my dear son, your devotion to your Guru is genuine. Your devotion to your Guru is genuine. Go and serve your Guru." Such was the dedication of Ramakrishna Anandaji. Guru Bhakti. The father was also pleased. He was ready to punish his father because he criticized his Guru, seeing that the heart of, because he was also a sadhaka, a good man, only he was blinded by attachment. But now it opened his eyes. He's praising his son. Now Ishwar Chandra, the father of Ramakrishna Anandaji, Shashi Bhushan Chakravarti, Ishwar Chandra, the father, was pleased with his son. And he said to him, "Yes, my dear son, your devotion to your Guru is genuine. Genuine. Go and serve him." See, persist. endurance, perseverance. Swami Vivekananda tells any good work has to pass through these three stages. What are that? Whatever good work you take up, the first is opposition. Whatever good work you do has to pass through three stages, says Swami Vivekananda. What are they? First is opposition. If you still persist, if you still endure, then the next stage is criticism. This fellow, we told him not to do that. He's still persisting. Let him go to dogs. They will curse him and criticize him. If you still endure, if you still persist, perseverance, sahanam, then they will ignore you. We told him what to do. He doesn't hear our words. Let him go and die, or let him get destroyed. What is that to us? They will ignore. Then even still persists, then finally comes acceptance. Who is so great? In spite of the opposition, in spite of the criticism, he's still continuing, he's so great, then they will praise him. So finally comes acceptance. So Swami Vivekananda tells every good process, everybody in everybody's life, whatever, anybody for that sake, you take up any good work, has to pass through these stages. Now his father admitted, my son, you are really so dedicated, your devotion to your guru is genuine. The doctors advised the devotees to move Sri Ramakrishna from smoggy, congested Calcutta to a clean, quiet country place. Accordingly, Sri Ramakrishna was taken to Kashipur Garden House on 11th September 1885. Shashi followed the master like a shadow. Shashi used to serve Sri Ramakrishna like a shadow. Used to be always with him, follow him like a shadow. Wherever Sri Ramakrishna would be there and serving him. Such was the Guru Bhakti. Such was the dedication. Such was the service. So now, when Sri Ramakrishna was moved to Kashipur Garden House, Shashi followed the master like a shadow. All of the attendants were great devotees. But so all the other direct disciples, they served Ramakrishna. But Shashi's devotion was special. It was the very embodiment of service. Can you understand this? He was the personification. Shashi Bhushana Chakravarti or Swami Ramakrishna ji was the very embodiment of service. He was convinced that service to the Guru was highest form of religion. There is no spiritual practice higher. There is no sadhana. There is no spiritual practice higher than the service to the Guru. Shashi was convinced that service to the Guru was the highest form of religion. He practiced no spiritual discipline now. He didn't want to practice any spiritual discipline. He practiced no spiritual discipline. He knew no other asceticism. He knew no other asceticism. No other austerity. No other asceticism. He traveled to no holy places, no pilgrimages. Forgetting his personal comfort, forgetting his personal education, career building, his own family, forgetting his personal comfort, forgetting his food, forgetting his rest. Shashi was always ready to serve the master. His life's purpose was to alleviate Sri Ramakrishna's suffering. So the life's purpose of Shashi was to bring down the suffering or the pain of his Guru. Shashi's life purpose was to alleviate The master suffering. Indeed, he would have given his life if he thought that would cure Sri Ramakrishna. He was ready to sacrifice his own life. He was ready to give up his own life if that would have cured Ramakrishna. Everyone marveled at his indefatigable energy, his endurance, and his boundless love for the master. As I told you in the beginning, Guru Bhakti Pratika. He was the model, he was the ideal for service of the Guru. If anybody has to learn what is service to the Guru, life of Shashi Maharaj, Shashi Bhushana Chakravarti is an ideal, is an embodiment, is a personification of service to the Guru. So Shashi's life's purpose was to alleviate Sri Ramakrishna's suffering. Indeed, he would have given his life if he thought that would cure Sri Ramakrishna. Everyone marveled at his indefatigable energy, his endurance. When it comes to the service of the Guru, he would get energy of 1,000 elephants. Everybody would be surprised at his energy, his endurance, and his boundless love for Sri Ramakrishna, his master. Now, is it one-sided? Love is always reciprocal. Ramakrishna also poured his fountain of love into his disciple and captivated his disciples forever. So it was not one-sided. Ramakrishna also poured his fountain of love into his disciples and captivated them forever. That period when he was serving, that was, December, November, December, January, up to middle of February, it will be cold in India. So the belief in India is during Shivaratri, the last day of winter in India is Shivaratri. After Shivaratri, the belief we were told in our childhood, our elders used to tell. So after Shivaratri or on the day of Shivaratri, the winter or the cold will tell Shiva Shiva and go away. That is the way we were taught. On Shivaratri, the cold, the winter will tell Shiva Shiva and it will go away. That is the end of Shivaratri. So now it was winter. So what happened there? While Shashi was serving Sri Ramakrishna, that was the winter season. It was winter when Master arrived at the Kashipur Garden House. Once in the middle of the cold night, Shashi left Master's room to clean the commode. He wore only a thin cloth. On his return, he saw that Sri Ramakrishna, see, Shashi Maharaj is serving, he is doing the menial work of even cleaning the commode of Sri Ramakrishna, everything. He never felt any hesitation to clean the toilet and commode of the Guru. Such was the intensity of his service. Holy Mother Sharda Devi, and she came to know once Sharat Chandra Chakravarti, that is Sharadanandaji Maharaj, he was a realized soul, Gnani. When he fell sick and one devotee cleansed his toilet, then what was the reply of Holy Mother when Holy Mother came to know about it? Holy Mother told, if even once a person cleans the toilet of a realized soul, a saint, Swarga, heaven is guaranteed. Once, Swarga is guaranteed. But if he doesn't want Swarga, then he can get God realization. He can move towards God realization. So now you can see Shashi is He's cleaning the commode, the toilet, and everything. No hesitation. He wore only a thin cloth in that winter night and he was cleaning the commode. On his return back, he saw that Sri Ramakrishna. He was very, very sick. It was in the last days, he couldn't even move. Sri Ramakrishna at that time couldn't even move. He was bedridden. Maybe he would give up the life in few more days. So he was so bedridden and so weak. But he saw his disciple just wearing a thin cloth and doing the work in the winter night. On his return, that is Shashi's return, he saw that Sri Ramakrishna was very, very sick, had somehow crawled, like a baby because he was so sick. Ramakrishna crawled across the room and was reaching up for a shawl that was hanging on the cloth's horse. At this painful sight, at this painful sight of his guru crawling to the end of the room to get that shawl, at this painful sight, Shashi thought to himself, alas, in my hurry, I forgot to cover Ramakrishna sufficiently. So perhaps he is feeling cold and trying to get a shawl. What a disservice have I done? He ran to Ramakrishna and he carefully caught hold of Ramakrishna. What are you doing, sir? Shashi asked him in a scolding tone, to which Sri Ramakrishna replied, the air is very chilly and you should not be up. Why did you not ask me for the shawl? When he scolded Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna replied, filled with love and concern. The master held out his shawl, his own shawl, and then said in a feeble voice, Shashi, I felt cold as you went out almost bare-bodied on such a cold night. So I was trying to pick up this shawl of mine for you. Please take it and cover it. Shashi was overwhelmed. In that bedridden, dying condition, Ramakrishna felt unhappy that his disciple Shashi was going out to do the cleaning in that cold night, winter night, with no cloth on the upper body. He had just had a dhoti or the pants and he had gone bare-bodied, the upper body. Om Namo Narayanaya. Dr. Himabindu Mother, please put off the mic. It is disturbing the class. Dr. Himabindu Mother, please put off the mic. It is disturbing the class. So Ramakrishna was feeling that cold of the disciple, even though on the deathbed, even though so weak, he was crawling, he couldn't move. He went to the other side, crawling on the other side of the room and got the shawl to cover the body of his disciple. So when Shishimara saw that, he thought that I have done a disservice. I should have covered the body of Ramakrishna properly. This is my mistake. And he went and scolded Sri Ramakrishna. But Ramakrishna, in a feeble voice, loving voice, is telling, Shashi, I felt cold as you went out, almost bare-bodied, on such a cold night. So I'm trying to pick up this shawl, his own shawl, for Shashi. Please take this, cover your body. Shashi was overwhelmed. That was the love of the Guru. Always he's taking, so it is not just one-sided, it is reciprocal. So this is how Ramakrishna had conquered or captured all his disciples with his loving service to them. You saw that Latu Maharaj, somebody had given him slippers and one slipper was taken away by the dog or something, he lost it. Ramakrishna took the other slipper of the disciple and he was searching. Latu came and Pleaded, "Oh master, what are you doing? You are my guru. You are the avatar. You are taking my slipper in your hand." No, no, no. I saw you, that new slipper, some dog or something might have taken. How difficult it is for you. So Ramakrishna is taking the other slipper in his hand to see whether check the same size and the same slipper to match it. He's searching all over Dakshineshwar for the chappal of his disciple. That is the love. So love is expressed through service. Ramakrishna is showing that it is reciprocal. So here you can see how Ramakrishna had captured the disciples and made them to sacrifice for the sake of the Guru, because he was also pouring, he was also showering his love and service to his disciple. It was not just one-sided. Ramakrishna was also pouring his love on his disciple. So you can imagine now how much Ramakrishna is pouring on us, how much he will be pouring his service and love on us. So now we will stop our discussion here because we are almost approaching 8 o'clock. So we will dedicate this little time for question and answer. If you have any questions, if you have any doubts, you can ask. Okay, on the YouTube live chat, there is no question. Is there any question here in the Google Meet? If there are no questions, then I can conclude with the prayer. Om Priyatam Pundarikakshah Sarvayagneshwaro Harihi Tasmin Tushte Jagat Tushtam Prenite Prenitam Jagat Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Thank you. Namaste. Om Namo Narayanaya. We will be having, as usual, the discussion on Mandukya Upanishad and Karika. All are welcome to this discussion. And again, we will meet to study the life of Ramakrishna Nandaji on next Sunday and Monday. So keep on meditating and studying this wonderful life of Ramakrishna. Om Namo Narayana.